Hello everybody, Kid Boo X here, and this video is a special video. Well, not really a special video, but I've been wanting to do videos like this for a while now. But I'm a big fan of Yu-Gi-Oh, and this video is basically my top 5 favorite decks in Yu-Gi-Oh. Now, there may not be the most popular choices, but you know keep this in mind. It is my opinion, and these are my top 5 decks in Yu-Gi-Oh. Number 5 would be Chaos Dragons. I don't use dragons that much, and I've used them, but I don't use dragons that much. And but Chaos Dragons, unlike every other dragon, like Cyber Dragons or Blue Eyes or just plain Red Eyes and all that, I like Chaos Dragons because it's got more than one dragon in there, and I don't know, it just, whoever came up with this idea made a deck, because it's a pretty good deck. I've used them before, and they're really, really interesting. And they took my number 5 spot. Number 4 would be Exodia Burn Stall. Basically, every single annoying freaking stall out or burn tactic in the Yu-Gi-Oh game, because I know how much everybody hates stalling out and Exodia and burn decks. It's not just because of that fact, but why everybody hates them is because they may be cheap, but they're actually very, very good. They can take down meta decks like no problem. And it's funny because they are the cheapest deck in the game, but they really can. They've got so much potential to them, and it's funny. Now, the thing is, there are some cards on the ban list that I wish were off, and what sucks is if the only way they could take them off if they banned Exodia, and that would kind of weaken this full deck, but not as much, because burn and stall decks alone are pretty powerful. And without Exodia, it would bring back some of the good cards. And I say go ahead and ban Exodia. And number 3 on my list would be 6 Samurais, the legendary 6 Samurais. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could anything beat the 6 Samurais on this countdown? Well, this is personal opinion, but there are 2 decks that I've used over the past years that I say I can use them right, and that are probably better than 6 Samurais. Now, don't get me wrong, 6 Samurais is a pretty good meta deck, and if you add a few cards in there, like Torrential and all that, and stuff that's top spell and traps, then it can be a pretty good beginner's deck. And they have actually won tournaments and everything, but they only made my number 3 because, I like them, but, there are 2 more decks above this deck that I can use better than 6 Samurais. Number 2 would be Elemental Heroes. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, you just love them because you can turn them into masked heroes and, bring out Acid or Dark Law. No. Fuck those kind of E-heroes, because of the fact that those E-heroes can die in a ditch. I'm talking about the regular E-heroes. They may not be as good as the new E-heroes, the Elemental Heroes, but they were nostalgic. I could use those decks right. It was just perfect for me. But, I remember taking out E-Heroes. I was actually able to summon Rainbow Neos, and he's one of the most strongest regular E-Heroes in the game, and his effect is just crazy, and I would dominate because of him and Absolute Zero, because those are the best E-Heroes in the game, and other stuff like the Light One, and I forgot his name, but the regular E-Heroes, not the new crappy masked heroes, the regular E-Heroes. They were my thing, and I could use them perfectly, because the first deck I've ever used, which is number 1, is the reason why I can. And you're about to see what number 1 is. And my top deck of all 5 of those decks that I mentioned in Yu-Gi-Oh, is the Dark Magician deck. Chris, Chris, my brother can tell you all about the Dark Magician deck. Hell, anyone in school can tell you all about my Dark Magician deck. I would not let that Dark Magician deck, I would not let that deck go. I was hell bent into making that deck as perfect as can be, and it wasn't until until they came out with the best support like the Eye of Timaeus and Dark Renewal and all that stuff that the Dark Magician deck couldn't be perfect no matter what I tried. And with the recent updates, I'm almost complete with my deck. Like it's perfect right now on Dueling Network, but in real life, it's not. I don't have every single card that I need. But I have to say that my best deck is the Dark Magician deck. No matter what, like this deck, it's my champion deck. It's my first go-to deck. I've had this for years, as I said, and it's been through some crazy changes, and it's at its final stages if I can get every single card that I have on the list to complete the deck, then it's a complete Dark Magician deck. Like, it's not the meta Dark Magician deck either. It's my Dark Magician deck, a custom Dark Magician deck that I made. And because I didn't want to go by the meta, even though I first thought about it, but then I changed my mind. Like, I'm like, this deck needs some different cards in it, some better support, and I made it up. Built it around the fact that it was a Dark Magician deck, but it was because of as I said, the recent releases of stuff like Eye of Timaeus and Dark Renewal that this deck became perfect for me. I mean, the most perfect custom Dark Magician deck you'd probably ever see that wasn't meta. And this is my number 1 because it's my championship deck, my deck I've had the longest, and I would never let this deck give up. Why Dark Magician deck? Because, do I have to say it? Yugi, the king of games, Dark Magician was like my favorite monster, and it's really not because of Yugi himself, but it's because he has so much potential. It's crazy. But yes, the Dark Magician deck is my top deck out of all these 5 on my list.